we'll let them get into it. I'm recording it, so if you got to pop off early, you will miss the free gift. I'm going to sing some karaoke, but nonetheless,
Oh,
we'll record it and send it out to you.
karaoke,
I'm
yes.
teasing. I'm teasing. So I'm going to open this up, guys. And last time I did this webinar, I just want to create value for you. It's my pleasure to do it. And it's a topic that I'm passionate about. So I went through the whole presentation and then towards the end said, hey, what questions do you guys have? And on this particular one, the questions were really excellent and important. And I realized afterwards, I'm just going to do the questions, right in the beginning and let you get your questions asked so that I have a frame that I can attack while I'm running through this presentation. And then I'll bring it up again at the end if you think of other things. So if you don't have questions now, you're like, I don't know, dude, just show me what you got. I'll think of it as it pops up. That's okay. But if you're sitting here, sitting on top of questions, I want to make sure you can put those in the chat and I'll get them addressed either directly or through the presentation. So if you don't mind, if you're thinking of stuff you want to know, you don't have to come off camera, you don't have to come off mute. If you're feeding yourself right now or checking email, absolutely okay. But it's your time. I want to use it wisely. I am here for you, not the other way around. So guide me is the invitation. You can hit me up with a question. You know the topic du jour. We're going to be looking at how to map a process on this one. And, I do these webinars pretty routinely, so we kind of hop around between different topics. Today, we're doing how to map a process, which I really love as a topic. It gets to the meat and bones. I'll be, addressing why we like process, how we think about it, and then right down to brass tacks on how we do it. So, like I said, I'm recording it. If you're jumping in late, not to worry. I'll be publishing this one afterwards. But I don't see. Come on, you guys. If you're gonna put some stuff in chat, I don't see it. All right, just gonna roll then. You think of things later on, you give me a shout, okay? And I'll ask you at the end. So let's talk about process because everybody's so super excited about it. It is always the one that makes people a little uncomfortable. And I talk to teams all over the world, and this is the last one they want to get around to just because it can be such a frustrating bit for them. It can be such a time-consuming piece, and there's ambiguity around it. And that's not unusual. You're not the only one, so don't stress if your teams are like, oh, we hate this. We're not super engaged in it. But for today, we're going to tackle the mapping piece of it. I'll talk about it both conceptually, and then we get right into software, and I'll show you how you can use the software effectively to begin to structure your playbooks and build processes in there. We're going to talk about why doing it. We're going to talk about exactly what it is because this is a world filled with stupid jargon, and I'm so sorry. I wish I could be the word police and stop that stuff, but there's just a lot of folks out in the marketplace, and there's a good 100 years or more of accumulated know-how. A lot of it's valuable, but there's just a lot of words for stuff. So process, system, racy charts, swim lanes. You may be somebody that knows all about that, but most of the folks I talk to are like, good grief, what? And so we'll keep the language focused. I'll give you some vocabulary to make things a little easier for you all. And then we're just going to do it. And if somebody's feeling brave, we may actually map a process of yours. I may let somebody on this call do hot seat, but I never run these webinars the same way. They're always live. Like it's really June 19th. This isn't a recording. So the questions you have, the obstacles you're facing, they're my problem to help you with. And it's my privilege to be here with you. So we'll go at it together. First up is why in the hell do this stuff? So when I talk to folks tackling process, man, they're like, we don't know how, we don't have time, we don't have a who can tackle it, and that's okay. We're gonna kind of dive into this thing from the perspective of, mapping process and getting through it. But why do it? Some really good reasons for doing it. Folks do process for three reasons. To decide, that's a very important focus for this. Like you guys sitting in a leadership meeting going, how do we want this to work? Is where process can really be a great tool for you. It is not enough to teach people, however. When you get a three-step process document or you make a flow chart or a graphic, that's a great tool to go, how do we want this to work and make some decisions? And for everybody in the room that day, makes a ton of sense. But handing that off to somebody out in the floor or out in the field, they're not going to be able to do anything with that. They need more than that. So process can be the chassis for procedures, for the training bit. And the last piece of this is to be able to innovate. So We live in different times than ever before. And if you're a beet farmer or you run an AI company, it doesn't matter. Innovation is coming for all of us. It's knocking on our doors. It's pushing us off of our standard operating, behaviors and processes. We're having to say yes to new things, new products, new softwares, new markets. And that means you're sometimes having innovation forced on you. And you know what that feels like. Process makes it so that you can say yes because you can imagine the implications of saying yes to something new. So even adding a new employee can mix things up. And if you don't have process, you can't imagine how that's going to play out or where that person's going to sit or how it's going to work. But when you've got processes for how things get done, it can really aid you. So I look at it like this. No matter the phase of the business, process has got a very valuable contribution. If you are standardizing and just figuring stuff out, God bless, processes for you. If you're scaling, like, no, we got this, and we're rushing and we're taking over America, process is for you. If it's the end of the rainbow, you're done putting a bow on it and selling the business. Huge valuation potential with process. Process is for you too. What most of y'all are dealing with is this, though. You're doing a little bit of scaling. You're doing, uh-oh, we scaled outside the bounds of our comfort zone. Now we have to standardize again. And you kind of go back and forth a little bit. You're not the first one to do it. That's not unusual. And so a lot of my clients are using Playbook Builder as a back and forth evolution, constant conversation, ongoing evolution of training and learning as new things come down the pipeline. That's why we place such an emphasis on the communication stuff. We don't want y'all just basically building these things, chopping them in, like on stone tablets like Moses, and assuming that's a good enough. We know they're going to be changing because you're changing. So that's part of the deal. But you're not alone. If you're kind of going in the back and forth, that's normal. It also means you're not really done. You're just going to keep touching these things and working on them. But biggest issue with process is, most folks, while they agree process is important, I'm not going to put you guys on the spot. Most of you have your cameras off. That's okay. But if you could just raise your hand in your mind, like how many agree process is important? I bet everybody on this call who's spending an hour with me would agree it's important. But that's actually part of the problem, is that everybody agrees it's important. But important doesn't always get done in a small business. Like I say this and I'm cheeky, but it works. It's also important to sweep underneath the refrigerator once in a while, but it doesn't mean we get to it. In a small business, urgent always seems to get done. Somehow, urgent always bullies itself to the front of the line and always takes precedent, even if something's really important like process. So the trick is, how do we make process important? Right? If you're going to get this stuff done, I'm just going to be your friend right now and just say, hey, how do you think about this so it does get done? Listen, go to your scorecard. If crap's off like track and it's been so for a couple of weeks, you got numbers that don't look right, that's where you start. Just go fix broken. Like it's cool to say, let's list these things alphabetically or let's look at the whole equation. But we're mapping process today. That is our agenda. But if I'm going to have you for a few minutes, I just want to help remind you, just triage, go to the stuff that's broken. Start there, fix it at a systems wide level, and then you'll own that upgraded approach and you can go to the next thing and the next thing. You'll be surprised. That triage focus, bang, 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 working through the company, problem after problem until things stabilize, is a great way to get the whole company's processes done. Sometimes you start at the wrong one and you're like, what am I doing working on this? Nobody cares. It's not on fire. It's not important. No one's really behind me on this one because it's not that crucial. Go, hit a jugular. Go find something big, meaty, important. Your visionary wants it done. Go solve that. You'd be surprised. The resources, the energy, the support from the staff, you'll get it all. And so if you're driving top line or fixing seriously broken systems, onboarding that's broken, whatever, you get the energy you need. Um, Basically, this is the last bit on this one. If process is important, it probably won't get done. Get it to urgent. Tie it into the things that are flaming dumpster fires. You'll get more done that way. Let me just check. Folks are still joining. Okay. So, what is process? Dumb question, maybe for some of you who are totally into this stuff and read up on it, know lots and lots. But for a lot of the folks I talk to, and I travel around, talk to folks all over the US, they don't know. They don't know the jargon. They're frustrated with the vocabulary. This is what really smart people ask us about process. What is a process? That gets asked a lot, more than you'd imagine. Should I delegate this? How often should we update them? How much detail is enough detail from one of these things? And where should I start? Like, how do I get this thing kicked off? how much time is it going to take me, and what's a procedure, what's an SOP, and then we just go down this terrifying laundry list of jargon words. Like I said, RACI charts, swim lanes, process, procedure, playbooks. Good grief, it's a monster. So I'm just going to simplify the heck out of the language and keep this thing super simple. And I'll address these questions as I go through. You'll hear me talk about these. But here's a definition of process just to really exemplify where things are. A business process is a series of steps performed by a group, like you can read this. It's totally useless. This is the kind of crap that most folks are exposed to, and it's not helping them. So you're not crazy if you're frustrated. You're not stupid if this doesn't make sense. It's not your fault whatsoever. It's just, like I said, it's 100 years of people talking about this. It's mostly dead guys who wrote about it and contributed. They participated in the conversation the last century. And we're still carrying some of their ideas forward, even though the world has changed dramatically. So there's nothing wrong with you. It's just we haven't really had an upgrade in the way we think about this stuff since Michael Gerber and E-Myth. Here's some language that'll help. Process is a flow of work. So it's moving through space and time. That's why you typically see flow charts when you see process diagrams is they start on the left and they move to the right, or they start at the top and they move down. It's mainly to represent the idea there things are moving like a choo-choo train through the business. That's a flow of work. But how to do it? That's a procedure. That's that next layer of specificity, typically tucked into process. And then finally, a policy. What the heck's a policy then? Well, that's a rule or a standard. That's going to address things like standards of quality or timeliness. And if you think about, say, Michael Gerber, to honor old Michael, oftentimes in his process work, one of the last pieces would be, here's what it looks like if you get it right. Anybody get online and download go to a website and get a recipe for something you'd like to make? Isn't there always a photo of it? Like, hey, if you do it right, it looks like this. Like, this is what you're aiming at. Like, that's a piece of this that's valuable is the policy. Show somebody what it looks like if they do it right. Or tell them, here are the characteristics if you did it wrong. But policies are valuable additives into the process equation. The problem is getting there, honest to God, it can often seem like this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is not what I think you should be doing. The way we architected our software was structured so that you could actually build a playbook in a logical way, just like you would outline it on a whiteboard. So this is what a playbook is, a collection of processes, okay? So you have the sales playbook. And when we build together, I'm going to show you, it's going to map to this. Every chapter, I call them process, in that playbook has procedures inside of it. So it literally looks like here's your sales playbook. These are all of the processes inside of it. And then we break those down, boop, 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 all the steps. And the steps house the procedures, the policies, all the cool stuff we've added to Playbook Builder. Videos, I'm going to add Jonathan in here, adding videos, adding files, adding links, adding quizzes, all that stuff unpacks at that procedure level. So it's as intuitive as I can make it, but just to kind of reacquaint you with the definitions, uh, to decide and structure how you want it done, you need a process. Okay. So if you're wondering, like, this is broken, what do we do? Get it a whiteboard, draw it. Simple. Number two, if you're trying to get people to do it right, you need procedures. That's where a playbook comes in handy. You take the structure of the process and then you build out the how-to manual. Make sense? And then finally, to ensure they do it right, you need policies. What's cool about my software, you can just dump that right in there and even combine it while you're creating assets. Like, here's the video. I'm going to walk you through it and show you how to do it right. Finally, if you want FBA, you need to get all that stuff into one place. So Playbook Builder is a knowledge management platform. It's where all of this stuff lives, so it can be found and utilized, and that's its job, is to be the one source of truth. So you need a playbook to put all those processes in one place. Not a whole lot different than grandma's recipe box. You'd go to the box and there'd be little separators for hors d'oeuvres and main courses and desserts and all the rest, and you'd find the recipes in there. It's the same idea. It's not rocket science. But as soon as you see it, I promise you will not be able to unsee it. If you're new to the software, when I show you, you'll go, got it. So how to do it? Well, there are three parts to process. There's the correct elevation, the start and stop points, and the correct order of operations. These seem like obvious and intuitive things. This is where folks get hung up. Correct elevation basically means when you're asking, crud, I don't remember like how to think about this. Is this a process? Is this a step? Or is this thing a whole playbook? And how do we answer that question? I have to show you to answer it. But if you're stuck on that question, you're not stupid, you're not in the minority. Information architecture is the most challenging part of this, mainly because I can't tell you the simple answer. Information architecture is subjective. It has to do with what's on your side of the plate. So you have to make some decisions, and I'll show you how to think it through. So we'll do that together, and we'll build a process, and you'll see how those trade-offs come out in the conversation. Number two are start and stop points. Crucial here because handoffs are one of the biggest goof up opportunities for process design. I didn't know that it was our responsibility at that point. We didn't set it up so that the guys downstream would get what they need, and now it's a mess for them and they're mad. Like these are the areas where you feel friction in your organization. So getting super crystal clear about start and stop points is a big important part of the conversation when you sit down to map a process. The last bit seems stupid, but I have been in the room. I did this for 25 years and have been inside of hundreds, like maybe close to 600 businesses. Guy with a whiteboard and a marker and looking at people and going, seriously, you guys don't agree on the order? Happens all the time. So sometimes there are efficiencies that were baked into the process and nobody understands them anymore, why they were done that way, or there's new direction and it hasn't been shared. So five guys who did it in the whiteboard session in the corporate meeting know, but the rest of the company are still doing it the way they did it in the 80s. Correct order of operations is not a joke. It is an important piece because if you think about handoffs, like the macro of a process, they're little ones too inside of the procedures. And so you got to get those in the right order, even if it seems intuitive. It's good to audit that. So we'll go in now. I'm going to shift gears and I'm going to dive into the software and we'll look at it together. Now, I'm going to build a playbook. I'll show you one. And then if some brave soul on here wants to play ball, I'll build you a playbook right out of your own head. You'll see it done. You guys can watch me sweat it out, make decisions on the fly. You'll see how this is actually done. I can make a quick little playbook, but you won't see any of the hair on it because it'll look easy. When I do one for you or you have to do one for yourself, you'll see how we have to confront some of these challenges. So it's the better way to do it. I told you I don't do these webinars the same way every time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a playbook. Now you all know you can build them from templates. I'm not saying that's cheating. I cheat all the time. This is a very fast way to build a first draft. Or you can cheat, grab your accountability chart, throw it in here. The damn thing will make playbooks. The AI is that smart. Or just make a first draft in the AI process generator. It's never perfect, but it's darn close. It gives you a first 80%. We're not going to do it like that. Today, I'm going to build it old school. So I'm just going to do apple pie recipe. All right, we'll make a pie, and I'm just going to break this thing down. So I've got a playbook, and I'm going to break it down into chapters like a book. So when somebody says to me, "How do I map a process?" I talk about it like writing an English paper when you're 12 or writing a book if you are writing a business book. You guys have business books, you read them too, and you never read one with 600 chapters in it. They just don't. It's dumb. Nobody does that. They build them with 10 to 15 chapters in a book, right? It's the same logic. If you want to chunk out a playbook into processes, we could do sales, we could do marketing. I could change this thing. We could make this into a sales process. Let's do that. It's more universal for you guys. What would I have? Well, I get the handoff from marketing, right? I'd get a lead, an inbound lead would come to me, and I would do a discovery. All right. And then I would put a proposal together. And then um, I would present the proposal. And then there'd be the negotiation phase, potentially. And then there'd be follow-up. Oh, see, now I goofed up a little bit because actually I disagree with myself. Follow-ups first until I get to negotiation and then I get to close, right? So this is the handoffs, right? Marketing's done when they get a lead. They're not going to do sales and I'm not going to do marketing. I'm just sales. So they inbound lead me. I'm also not going to do fulfillment. That's actually a whole other crew. So I fill out my CRM system, and the fulfillment people take that closed deal and they begin to execute on it. Account executives or whatever so you can imagine. So I just decided a bunch of things just by architecting this. Y'all might end up having to stand at a whiteboard and fight with each other about it, but this is the way I would architect the processes. High level, there's not very many of them. Maybe I have a few more in here, but just for the sake of today, I'll keep it light and tight. But these are the processes. Now, we all know if I just said, yeah, go out there and do that, Johnny. Johnny doesn't know what this means. This is a process, that's true, but it sure as hell doesn't have any procedures in it. That's where all the magic lives. That's where all the juice is to knowledge transfer from an expert sales guy to a junior sales guy. That's why Playbook Builder exists, so you all can do that for your people. So I just did the architecture. If I disagree with it, I go back in here and I shake it up, add stuff, delete things, move them around. Maybe I got two versions. I've got like an inbound discovery that's for whales, and I've got a inbound discovery that's for regular accounts. Okay. So I'll have both in there. So I'll be able to say two versions of an inbound. Make this can be the stuff that happens, and this is how you overcome it. I'll go into the regular one, and now what do? Next level of specificity. Now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of how the process of managing an inbound lead, running a discovery call goes down. So what happens? Well, I get a CRM review of the notes because there might be some information in there for marketing. I check them out on LinkedIn and website. You guys know what you do, so I'm just making stuff up, but this is it. Uh, you know, email the prospect uh, dates to meet on Zoom, and then ask about the business and then share about the product, and then propose. We create a proposal. Now, experts in this arena might differ from what I'm putting together. That's not my point. I'm not thinking about it that hard. I'm just showing you guys a good outline. But here's my structure for a process for the inbound component. Because if I just gave discovery and said, do discovery, nobody's gonna know what the hell that means. I put 3 bullet points in here. They're still not gonna be able to do it. But in here, I can. I can go in here and I can say, all right, I'm gonna add a video on exactly how I do the CRM. You guys see this? I'm gonna click the record screen. I'll go find the CRM and I'll narrate a video how I do that. I'll go ahead and make a video in here talking about that for a second. So here I go. Hey guys, I'm going to walk you through how I review the CRM system. So typically marketing gets some intel and they're capturing information about the prospect. Maybe there's been some lead scoring. Maybe they've been clicking on some links. We're beginning to build a composite of the kinds of things that they've been exposed to on their journey. Even like lead source, stuff like that would matter. So when I get on the phone, I'm loaded. I'm not just guessing. I've got some good intel. I spend good 5 minutes just poking through the CRM system so I understand. I'm looking at their name, their business, their geography. I'm paying attention to lead source and scoring. Now I hit save, and I just made a quick, fast video of a guy walking through it who's done it before and can speak to specifics. So maybe I would go more in the weeds on that because it's more detailed, but in the interest of time with y'all, I'll just leave it at that. Maybe I want to do another video, make a second video where I walk through how I use the CRM system and I show the things that I'm paying attention to. Like, think of all the things you could add. What I like to see happen is you exploit this feature right here where the videos can be turned into an SOP, and it takes a second for the software. I mean, it's doing a lot of work, so I have to be kind about it. But I'll give it a minute. We'll get our video in here, and then I'll show you how the software's features can now convert a video into a step by step. Hey guys, I'm going to walk you through how I review the CRM system. So typically, okay, you want to write an SOP? I certainly do not. I like to go ahead and exploit the AI and the software to do that work for me. So I get a head and shoulders video or a screen capture video. I've just ripped into it, and I let the software transcribe it and convert it into a step by step. Gather intel, build a profile, prepare thoroughly, focus on details, like stuff I said. Now, I've just mapped out a process in really high level, quick terms, but I didn't really address some of the gotchas. Okay, except for one. Once in a while, I do this different because these guys are a multinational organization with 30,000 employees. It's kind of a different process. You're going to have some gotchas. You're going to have ABs that happen once in a while in a process, right? That's going to happen. Not a strange occurrence, nothing to be worried about. It's just going to be the nature of the beast. I ask the question when I'm mapping a process, does this happen all the time or once in a while? Does it happen half the time or less? Like what's this what statistically is going on here? If it happens a lot, make two playbooks. If it's happening like enough that it's like, man, we have two arcs. We get so many of these inbounds that are whales. It's like a whole other experience. Make two playbooks. One for whales, one for regular. You don't get charged by me on these things, so just go ahead and make two of them. If there's enough substantial difference, you could clone this one and just keep the stuff that makes sense, and then I'll show you how to do that. And then just delete the stuff that doesn't. So sales process, I think it was here. I'll just clone it, make a duplicate of it. Now I got two of them. I'll go into the this one and I'll just get rid of Wales inbound discovery. I'll just get rid of inbound discovery. Now I only have one for Wales. So I'll just name this thing sales process Wales. Now I got two of them. Most of it's the same. I got two ways of doing it. The videos and stuff I add in here are different. So what did I just show you? I showed you like a kind of a 100-mile-an-hour version of this, but nonetheless, the value of it was when you go in here you do the chapters of your process, big chunks, like you would chapters of a book, major milestones moving through a sequence of a process. Number two, you pop in here, you take it to the next level. You go deeper now. You go down into those step by steps for that individual process, like discovery. And you can unpack it in a million different ways. Videos, links. You got an example email that you like to send because it always gets a response. Put that sucker in here as an example. There's a website you reference. Put the link to LinkedIn in here, whatever you want to put. If there's tutorials on how to use the CRM system and it's fast and easy, just add it in here. If it's a whole bloody tutorial on how to do a CRM, don't put it in sales. Make a playbook called How to Use the CRM System and just reference it here. So, pretty, it's intuitive. You're not going to break your brain trying to think this stuff through. Where folks get stuck is, now I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to break this right in front of you. You'll bump into it. I might as well show you the ugly right now. You come into this CRM thing and you realize, shoot, it's 20 steps. What the hell do I do with it? I just thought I could stick it in here, but all of a sudden I'm like, CRM1. And it's this whole thing on like, how do I use the CRM? And I got CRM2, and it's what happens if this, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is getting really out of balance. This is like three videos over here. I'm putting a proposal together. This ends up like 40 steps. What's wrong? Well, you didn't do anything wrong in the workflow. It's just an imbalance of information. I look at these things from two perspectives. Is it true? It's kind of my engineer brain. Like, is it accurate? Is it true? The second brain I look at though is kind of like a designer. I kind of look at it and go, man, but is it ugly? Because man, if I'm the person using this thing, I'm a short attention span, not reading crap, disinterested SOB who's got better things to do. I try to be that person when I look at my work and I go, is that guy going to read this? Is it too much? Is it asking too much of him or her? And I try to make these things efficient and effective. And if I look at it and go, man, that's like 30 steps, I might say, all right, I got a couple of choices I can make. I maybe need a CRM system playbook. Maybe it's so dense that I'm just telling the truth and it's just the wrong place to stick it. It could also be that I just go in here and I go, all right, well, there's the discovery process, but I just need to add a CRM overview portion in here and add a secret little guy in between and stick the stuff that I was doing on CRM into this CRM spot right here. All right, now how do I get that crap that I put over here into that one? And you're going to bump into this too. We got something for you. It's called File Manager. I go to File Manager, I pop into my sales process, and I go, all right, inbound discovery. I got all this stuff for CRM. Here we go. I'm going to drag it in now. CRM1. I'm going to grab CRM2 and put that in here. And I'm going to grab CRM review the notes. I'm going to put that in here. And now all the stuff that I had built out for discovery, I moved it over to the CRM. I go back over to here. Where's my process? And I've just wiggled it around, and now I got this stuff over here, and I moved everything over to here. CRM one and two. Okay? Because, Jonathan, it's going to happen. It's just going to be the nature of the beast. You'll get cooking on one of these things and go, oh, shucks, I overbuilt this part. I need to restructure it. So you go to File Manager. It's just going to be something. I think, Jonathan, you're the guy that was a chef, used to be a chef, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, I remember you. Okay. Well, it's just the nature of the beast. You'll start working on a recipe in here or whatever it is, but you can use that as an analogy and realize, man, this needs to be divided. And that's just the nature of it. It's going to happen. The other thing that is going to happen is what I was showing you with whales. You'll have a path A and a path B. And if it was me and it was a small distinction, I'd just make an extra step and call, if this happens, do it this way. But if it's like, crap, half the process is different, divide it into two. That's the way to solve for that. So let's do it again, and I'll show you another way to skin this cat. You can use AI to skin this cat. Go in here and we'd say sales process and and I'll use the AI to give me a first draft, and I'll say, throw me an industry. Todd, what industry works? Sorry to put you on the spot, my friend. What industry would you like to see?
Well, we do auto repair, so
Yes,
what
sir.
is that?
You got it.
It's the broad spectrum of cars.
So I'll do sales process auto repair and we'll look at it together. You'll probably say, well, it's not quite how we do it. I will guarantee you there'll be distinctions, but it's usually a good first draft. So if you guys are looking to make process or map a process, sometimes a good way to do it is take a first draft like this, and I'll just read these out so you can call them out. Initial customer engagement, like a welcome, understanding needs, expressing empathy, information gathering, setting the stage, diagnostic and assessment, vehicle inspection, review findings, discuss options, estimate, get approval, repair and service execution, finalize a transaction, follow up and relationship building. It's a pretty good first draft, right? You might say, yeah, but we're pretty good at this, John. We got some unique ways of doing it. It's exactly why I go grab video and start popping your own unique videos in here because just like grandma in the kitchen, you could get the recipe, but it ain't like being in the kitchen with Granny. And so if you get the video of one of your best guys explaining how he starts greeting the customer, I've seen people get so creative. They'll role play these things. They'll get out on the floor and demonstrate how that's done. And you're listening to an expert. If you've ever had to tile your bathroom, you go to YouTube. You watch somebody knows what they're doing and they're looking over their shoulder and explaining it to you. Make videos like that. Stick them in my software, hit the magic button, and convert it to the step by step. You'll move really fast, but more importantly, you'll get the wisdom out of your best people. And that's fantastic because they're trustable. You know what I mean? It's real. So use the AI for structure, but then go deeper into the procedure layer with your own folks. If you don't like the structure, I can show you again, but you can edit these things. You can change up the order. You can add more. You can clone them. You can do, all kinds of stuff so that they're yours. They're not just templates. They're not just generic. I want them to really become a reflection of what y'all are doing. Now I'm old school. I started doing this stuff at a whiteboard. So I'm not a kid, I'm not opposed to doing that. I don't mind drawing boxes and squares across a whiteboard and then listing out the bullet points. But you can see how our logic went. This is the playbook. These are the boxes. And inside of it, these are the steps. These are the bullet points. It just wasn't enough to stop there. So we added the doodads down here to bring it to life. Pretty intuitive, right? You get that? Okay. Now, nothing beats learning real learning. I can flap my gums at y'all and you guys will listen, pick up what you can. But who wants to play hot seat and make one of these? Like, who wants to get one done? I'll even do this for you. If you like the playbook, tell me your account. I'll migrate it over when we're done and I'll drop it into your account. I'm not kidding. I can do that on the back end. Who would like to have one done? Just take yourself off mute and
Yeah,
say, sure, I'll do
yeah,
it.
we can do one. Todd and I are
All
part of the
right, dude.
same company, so Todd's gonna have to chime in.
All right, let's do it. What's the one that's going to move the needle in your organization the most, Brandon? Which process would or playbook would give you guys a big lift?
Production process.
Okay, now we're going to go in and we're going to build this while you guys watch. And it's just the darndest thing. You'll learn so much more because Brandon and Todd are being brave. So let's do chapters. Just take me through space and time. Give me the main chunks. And if we disagree or we go back and forth, it's totally okay. Just let's get started. Where does this one start?
Technician has to receive a repair order from a service advisor.
Okay. And then what's the next big chapter?
They have to either, start in on that work, so testing and inspecting.
Okay.
Um, then they've got, while they're testing and inspecting, they have to, you know, document their findings and recommendations.
Okay. I'll just do documentation. And then what happens next?
They have to communicate that information back to the service advisor. And so this is where we get a little confused because sometimes there's services and repairs in between there. So, you can receive a repair order and instead of going right into testing and inspecting, you might be just doing an oil change or, you know, installing brakes. So, um, you actually have to service or repair whatever you find and recommend. And you got to gain some authorization from the customer in between the service advisor getting it and sending it back to the technician.
Okay, so I want to make sure I truly understand. And forgive me, I think you did a great job, but I might have just misunderstood. So I get a repair order and I flip the hood on this thing and I realize it needs an oil change or something else. And so it's in everybody's best interest that I go ahead and do that. It's a share of wallet. I get a bigger order, but it's also back and forth with a client, right? So it needs to happen in the flow between testing and inspecting or something like that, right?
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
Okay, so they get a repair order, but then there's something else that happens before they do testing and inspecting.
Yeah, there could be.
Like, what
Um,
would you call that? Like auto audit? Like, you know what I mean? They're,
Sizing up the job.
yeah, really. I mean, like, all right.
Yeah.
So, I'll just call it that. Sizing up the job because your guys are good before they get to testing and inspecting on the order that was placed. They're doing like how about this? What about a automotive 360? Does that make sense what I'm getting at, Brandon? Like, if your guy found out, like, yeah, we put the car on the rack and we realized that it's got a tail light out, the muffler's hanging down, and when we flip the hood on this thing, it's got all kinds of jacked up stuff in there. That's where that happens. Is
Yeah,
that
they kind of got to hit the
correct?
pause button,
They got to
you
hit the
know.
pause button. Okay, so before we go to testing and inspecting, there's this whole process stuck in here. And do they do the work or would it come into someplace else in here? Because we could get right back on the path, but it would be a different order, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it may be.
Okay.
Hey, we've got to actually do this first before we do anything else.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So we do appropriate repairs. Well, that may not be the right language, but it goes this way, just getting the test. So I get the repair order, I get the vehicle, I do the 360, I find all kinds of stuff that's jacked up. I do it first, or I get into testing and inspecting from my repair order. Do I do this stuff right away, or do I wait and do it on the, do they have a preferred order?
What do you think, Todd?
Yeah, so yeah, if there's a need that the customer comes in for or a concern that they have, you'll want to do a full evaluation, which would be your 360, and
Yes,
then
sir.
you'll want to do the testing inspection for what their concern is, and then you present all of that to the customer. So that'd be one way the car might come to you. Now, a different way, pivoting here,
Yes,
could
sir.
come in that, hey, the car needs two or three different services already sold, something we've talked about previously, and you would just dive right into doing that stuff.
Okay, so
And
this
then,
one's just elective. You skip
yeah,
it, or no, you don't skip it, but you would do it, but you wouldn't go to any further work if they didn't need any further work.
okay. All right,
Because
so you
you
could still
thought
leave it in that order. You don't have to have a totally separate
that's
process
right.
for
That's
that.
what I was just thinking about because it could be a nice value add that your guys always do a 360, and sometimes they find work and sometimes they don't, but it's part of the value added is that when you bring your car in, our heads up guys will be looking at your vehicle. My guy always does. He always finds something. Now I know he's getting into my wallet, but he's not wrong. It's not like he finds stuff that's baloney. He's like, I'm looking at your, you wanted to have this light changed, but I noticed your brake pads are all worn out and we probably should do it. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, thank you for doing that. Because if I had not opened up the opportunity, I wouldn't have known. I didn't know to ask for that, right? So it's valuable. But
Right.
to your point, you do the testing and inspecting for what the order was for. And then there's documentation before there's service advisor communication. Then there's the repairs. Is that what I got wrong? This goes all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, there could be an in-between step there with the
There,
service advisor communication, depending on. So that's
this,
almost like an elective too, depending on what we're getting into.
yeah, depending, it's situational dependent.
Situational dependent, which I hate.
Yeah.
Right? Like we'd love
Yeah.
it to run like the same way every time. So let's break it again. So we got a repair order. Somebody wants to have something done. To bring the car in, your techs are awesome. They do a 360. They uncover a handful of other things. They put those things on the list, but they do the testing for the presenting issue, and
Mhm.
there's documentation for that. And then what happens? Would like walk me through it again? Just pretend I
Then it would go to the service advisor.
Okay. And
Then
then
they would
there's a
get,
new quote.
yeah, you would reach out to the customer to get the approval,
Okay.
Yes.
yeah, requote and authorization
Authors. I like that
or
better.
approval.
No, I like
Yeah.
authorization.
Well,
that feels smart.
Yeah.
That feels like
My
it.
parents a lot.
Yeah. Then you'd have to order parts and then you'd have to establish a timeline. And then it goes back to the tech to do the work.
Okay, so I'm guessing this is its own process, and then executing on it would be a different playbook. This is its own thing, and then doing the repairs would probably be its own playbook, right?
Probably, yes.
Because
Yeah.
that's getting into the weeds, right?
Yeah.
Remember when I was talking earlier, fellas, I was discussing how, actually, for all of you who are listening, how information density, how much stuff is in here might dictate. Is this 2 playbooks or 3, or do we divide them in half, or what do we do? This is a good example where I would say, yeah, but you're doing like doing the architectural work isn't the same thing as building the house. Like we would want different playbooks for every phase of construction. Doing automotive repairs, this is its own discrete activity. This is just what's the scope of work and are we going to get paid for all of it? It's not doing the work. So Todd, you see how I pulled that, separated it out? Because this is its own little closed loop now. Car comes in, you've just turned it into more work, gotten approval, given a timeline, and now we're ready to execute on it.
Correct.
Okay, you guys like it? Not written in stone, but is that a nice place to start? Is the way we do it, and we go, okay, we got a process.
I'd say a
Now,
good place to start. Yep.
okay, so what I did in here, you saw me do this. It seems so easy and stuff, but what I inserted in here was this, because I looked at it and said, is it going to happen all the time? And is it a problem if it does, or is it a virtue? My little sales guy brain went, it's a virtue. Let's make it happen all the time, because there's always money if they find stuff. Do you see what I'm thinking about, Todd? I mean, I look at it and go, man, if you were to do a 360, you'd almost always find a little something extra.
Yeah. Generally, it does happen almost every single time.
Okay, so then, Brandon, that's where I took a left-hand turn and said, now we're going to stick it in here as a major milestone. It's a 10-point inspection or whatever you guys could name it. You could have some fun with that, turn it into a value. You could market it. You bring your car in here, we're going to make sure you put it on the road, high, and that may mean we put some air in the tires, fill up your fluids, but it may also include finding things that are possible dangers for you and your family to be out on the road. Sounds great. So now we go into repair order, and now you do it again. And we say, what is the repair order? This is the information we get coming in from whoever took the order, the customer service. Oh, Todd, you're speaking on mute. I'm sorry. I know you got people behind you.
Yep. Sorry. Service advisor.
Service advisor. Okay. So you're going to teach me how this works, the repair order. So what are the steps of this? Where does it start? We're going to do the same thing again, fellas. We're going to repeat it, but we're going to get down to the weeds a little bit and not get outside the bounds of the repair order. Sometimes you could leach over into the 360, but we're not going to do that. We're going to stay right in here. This one starts with what activity, Todd? What happens? Inbound call or what?
Yeah. Could be a phone call, could be an email to schedule an appointment. Could
Okay.
be either of those.
I figure the training is different for both, so I'm going to suggest they might be different steps,
Oh, yeah,
right? Because you're closing the loop on a phone call right there on the spot, whereas an email might take a week to go back and forth, right, guys? Okay.
correct.
And then what happens?
Yes, set an appointment. And I mean, there's a million things on setting up a repair order, so you'd have to determine what the customer's concern is. You want all their information. And then we build job kits for whatever their requests are.
You guys are
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that might not have been the correct order for all of that, but
Then put them in the right order for me.
move the collect information up to just above the appointment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because you got to get their
Of course.
name, number, contact, all that.
Yep, because if you lose them, then
Yep,
set the
set the
appointment.
appointment,
You close that up,
determine concern.
determine concern, and then you create the job kit. Have I got
Yep.
it?
Yep, you got it.
You guys did great. That was excellent. Okay. Inbound call. Now we're going to build it. An inbound call comes in. What happens?
You answer the phone.
Yeah, what do you do on the phone? Like, how do you answer that call?
You identify yourself and the company. What can I help you with?
What do you have a favorite greeting? Like, what do you guys say?
Uh, everybody's a little bit different. I'm
That
Todd.
sucks.
This
We
is
shouldn't
Todd
do
at
that
Community.
anymore. Let's not do that anymore. What's the best way to do it, Todd?
Community Automotive. This is Todd. How can I help you?
All right, cool. And then what do you do immediately after you say that?
I guess I listen to what they want to talk about, whether they need to be transferred to somebody different, or they want to set an appointment, or if they want to. Yeah, I guess you just have to figure out whatever they want. Why they're
Okay.
calling. Could be a vendor. Could be a salesperson. I don't know.
Exactly. So you're going to get a plethora of calls, different spectrum of things. And then what happens after that? Route them appropriately.
Yeah, route it.
But if it's inbound sales call, then what do you do on that call? You go to the next step, right?
Yep. Then you get your software opened up so that you can start looking at your schedule and make an appointment.
Good work. All right. This is me being you. I'm not going to do as good a job. So hang on to your
Good
butt.
luck.
It's going to suck. Yeah. So the first thing you want to do when you get an inbound call is smile, make sure your voice is clear, and you say, "Hey, thanks for calling Community Auto," and say your name. "Hi, this is John. How can I help?" And then listen to whatever it is they're reporting. So they may be in distress on the side of the road. They may be a salesperson calling, trying to sell you something. You've got to be present, listen, hear how to route that call. And then if they are a sales opportunity asking for a quote or understanding how we charge and things like that, you're going to want to open up your scheduling software and schedule with them. As soon as you're done with that, go to the next step. Good?
Yep, real good.
Thanks.
So I've got an application. Can I send you that?
Yeah, sure. You knock yourself out. I just do this stuff for free. That's how I make all my money. Yeah. So here it comes. So there's my video, and then I'm just going to turn it into an SOP. And if it sucks, I'll add to it. And if it doesn't, I'll roll with it. And I'm really a minimalist about this. Maybe you guys would call me lazy, but I figure I'm going to do the least amount I can to get the desired outcome.
Oh,
That sounds
100%.
like, that may sound like, no, we're trying to put everything we know in here. And I'd say, no, you're not. If people know how to answer the phone and run this call, then just touch on it. But if it's like a major point of pain and you're like, my gosh, these people answer the phone and they're just not realizing they're in sales mode, then take the time. So use your heads. You know what's going on in your organization. Add like salt to the soup. I said this. Remember, Jonathan, we were talking about references for baking, and I said, how much salt do you add to the soup? You got this much salt in the cupboard. Does that mean you have to put that much salt in the soup? Nope. You just go like this until the soup is right, and then you stop. And if it's not enough, you add another handful. So I make my little video in here, and we all agree, like, I was all right. I was pretty good. I'll click the jammer. It's going to turn this into a little outline. We say that's great. Unless we find out Barbara is losing every single inbound call. She gets 30 inbound calls a day, and we're only scheduling 5 of them. Barbara, what's going on? Let's deepen our process of training for you. That's a pragmatic approach, guys. It'll keep you from getting in the weeds, making playbooks that are like works of art. They know it has everything you know in there. It took you a year, and it's like, well, nobody even needs to know. They all know how to answer the phone. So just be practical about it. So there's my little step-by-step in there, right? Great. Greet warmly, smile, ensure your voice is clear, and say, thanks for calling Community Auto. This is your name. How can I help? Isn't that cool? Duninsky, fellas. Go to the next one. All right, inbound email. You guys get it. So just to make it clear, the things that we negotiated through this had to do with weighing the information, but architecture is pretty easy. It's a playbook, right? We called it production process, but it's a playbook. It's got these separate discrete areas in here that you can deepen and then deepen again with layers of communication that really unpack the how-to portion, the procedure. You can also include, and somewhat you heard me say earlier in my little PowerPoint, this is kind of the policies in here. Here are your standards. You could say, answer the phone on the first ring. I got people who will pound on me on the table about that. We don't answer the phone on the second ring around here. It's a first ring culture. Phone rings, we get it. And they're on top of stuff like that. It's important. Well, put it in. And as you keep moving your way through this stuff, you'll see it in the lag indicator of your scorecard. If you nailed it, you'll start to see the KPIs move in the right direction. You should see scorecard numbers look happy, green, good, because you're solving for these things. And what's the goal? Guys, if it was me and this was the sales process for me, I'd be like, well, what's our case average or what's our ticket average? That'd be a cool metric to track. Be neat to see this number move. Have a little guess, like a bet in the office. I think we can get it up to $7,000 or $3,000, whatever. I don't know your numbers, but whatever it is. Somebody comes rolling in here and they need X, and we're going to see what we can find when we do the automotive 360. And we're going to see if by adding this step, standardizing an approach, literally like walking around the vehicle, testing things in a formal fashion, maybe a clipboard with a checklist. Maybe you already do that, but think of how much more generated revenue you could create doing that. And then where are all the painful points in here? Man, when we have to requote and get authorization, we always drop the ball. Well, let's make some constraints in here for how we do that. And we can add things like a quiz or a survey to verify and validate. How'd I do? Was that pretty helpful for you? You guys like this thing enough? Should I ship it over to you? Would it save you
Yeah.
10 minutes, Todd, if I gave it to you? Okay, I'll do that at
Yeah,
the end.
we can definitely play around with that.
Jerry rig that thing? Okay.
Yeah.
For
Thanks.
all of you who are on this one, I see somebody had to jump, but for anybody else who's on this one, what questions did that raise? Before I go back to my little dog and pony, like I said, I'm not here for me, I'm here for you. What did this raise? Anything that you were curious about for this one? And Brandon and Todd, that includes you guys too. Anything else that this surfaced for any of you as a question? All right, I'm going to share my PowerPoint. You
Well,
guys,
I was gonna say,
sometimes,
yeah.
hey, there we go.
Go
What do you got?
ahead.
go ahead, Eric. Erica.
And I was just gonna say I jumped on late, but because I'm new to using Playbook and my company uses it, this was actually like I have been fearful of the process, and now this is so simple. Like
Yay!
it was really
Thank you.
helpful.
I'm so grateful. I think it is. I made it and I'm not very smart. So it was my software. I built, I didn't write the code, but I wrote it. And I just thought, man, this stuff has to be easy. So I'm
Well,
so glad you thought
I work
that.
for an engineering company and they want to write out everything first. And I'm an
Yeah.
architect, so I'm very left brain, right brain.
Uh-huh.
And it's like I would much rather do what you just did, do the little video and say,
Yeah.
export to the steps and then tweak that, than
Yes,
have
ma'am.
to write out everything. So this was really helpful. Thank you.
Fantastic. Erica, thank you for that feedback. Before I get your next question, whoever that was that asked it, I'm just going to say one thing, Erica. What I recommend you do is you map the process out like I just did with Brandon and Todd, and then get your steps in there, and then turn that into a shot list. You can convert that.
Okay.
You can
Yeah.
convert that in a real slick way. I'm going to show you right now where you can literally go in here to playbooks, go into I think it was the production process, right? And here's this little button right here is PDF. Go grab that guy, print it out. You've got a shot list. Every one of these gets a video, inbound email, collect information, set an appointment. Now you've got a way to do this. Get all your videos, dump them into PlaybookBuilder, and then convert them into SOPs. It's really slick. And so, as a suggestion for doing this, I don't even try writing the SOPs. I
Yeah.
think if I can avoid it, I will. If I got to add more supplemental stuff in there, I can. But you'll also find, last bit, interview them. Even the engineers, there's weird parts of the brain, and I'm just not kidding. I've been doing this for a long time. There's one part of the brain that writes SOPs, and I don't know where that brain comes from, but it like more is better seems to be the way SOP writing brain works. Approach the computer, turn on the computer. Step 4B, turn on
Yeah,
email. It's like, what are we doing? Is this brain surgery? It's just like, I want to write an email well. If you
right,
asked him on camera, hey, how do you write an email? He'd talk to you like a human. Well, I
right.
really want to be, he'd go right into it, use normal language, explain it. What's cool is you get a video out of him. He's teaching, he's explaining. It's a great tool. It's better than reading the SOP, but my software will turn it into the reading version for you. So it's easier on your subject matter expert. They don't have to write the damn thing. You don't have to write it. And it's like they're done in a week. You got a playbook stood up with all the wisdom of your people in one place. And it was easy for them because they didn't have to sit and write SOPs.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like what Brandon and Todd were referring to, that situational dependence, right? Like you're going to get that out in a video
You
quicker
are,
than you are to type it out and try to create a random flow chart of things. Like you're going to get that. It's like in a video, somebody's going to say, this is what happened on this project. Here, go for it.
well, actually, you bring up another great point, and as you get the video, you get into storytelling sometimes. That's how we like to be taught. Mentoring, stories, great way to do it. Guys, Brandon, Todd, your environment, out in the field, guys showing how to do things over their shoulder, like YouTube videos. They're fantastic videos, and I can show you examples of guys doing this kind of stuff. But I'll give you a link to like these guys pop into my head, Chemline. Like these guys are literally just walking through stuff.
Your next step after you install your filter bag going to be back here. So you'll grab a sample can.
Shot on an iPhone. There's a little tiny microphone that they stick on this guy's shirt. I'm going to give you the link to the one that we recommend. You might have your own gear. You may be nerdy like that. I am not. I just wanted something inexpensive that would do the job. So I'll upload the one that we recommend. And if you like it, you can use it. But you get your guys right out in the field talking about what they do. I just put it in the chat. You guys will see the link. It'll take you to Amazon. It's like $100. Does a fantastic job. And those videos, you shoot them in landscape, you're done. Really, really convenient and fast. Okay, so I'll go back to my PowerPoint. Erica, thanks for the questions. That was helpful, and you guys were great letting me climb up into the hood. Like I said, I'll move this playbook builder this playbook over to your account for you fellas. So 3 parts of procedure, steps, like we just talked about that. We built the playbook, we built the processes inside of it. We started on the procedures. Steps are important. You're going to want to list those. Assets are important. Those are the things that bring it to life. Techniques are important. Those are the little details that really are like tribal knowledge. And oftentimes the little things like that reflect values. So how we answer the phone around here isn't the same as how you guys answer the phone because your culture is different, because your heritage and values are a little different. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm saying it's distinct. So it's a little like this. This is a recipe. This is a procedure. It's an SOP. It's work instructions. It's the step by step and the ingredients, but it's not the same thing as being in the kitchen with Granny. We all know that that's really where it's at. Well, if you can get the subject matter expert in the kitchen, just like Granny walking through how to make a pie, man, there's nothing quite as good as that, right? You're going to get stories and examples. Erica, we were just talking about it. Those exceptions, all of that is going to get wrapped in while you're also learning about what your dad was like when he was a little boy. So you get all of that stuff when you're in the kitchen with Granny. That's why video is so cool. Because when you get a procedure out of someone and it's got story and it's got exceptions and it's nuances and details, you get the techniques and they're laden with culture. Here's what happens. Your best people, your A players unconsciously do things in alignment with your core values. It's the coolest thing. It'll actually knock you out. You'll see some guy who cleans the toilets a certain way and he's good at it. You like him. You just don't really know what he thinks though until he's explaining how he cleans a toilet and you'll realize, man, he gets this place. And that's why he's worked with you for 10 years because he just naturally understands and lives the values. So as you begin to pursue this stuff, pick wisely. Your subject matter experts shouldn't just be knowledgeable. They should be people that really get the company culture and they should be popular people because they'll help drive adoption. But it's benefit of using video is you get that granny effect. All right, so what did we talk about? We talked about a handful of things today. Why do it? I kind of overviewed that because it needs to be addressed. There's like such a confusion around this why do process. It's always helpful to reframe it. What is it, man? I always cover the bases on jargon because it's typically a mess. And then we walked into how to do it. And you guys were so great. That was so much fun. It was the best part for me was just walking into that. I'll pull the car over one more time and just give you guys the floor because I mean, no kidding. I'm here for you guys. Anybody, Samantha, Layla, anybody else want to ask a question about this or feel stuck? I'm happy to answer questions right now. I'm also happy to help you afterwards. And I can drop my email or my phone in the text if you guys need help. So just ask me on chat. Do you have any last questions?
Just real quick, the link that you sent looks like it was for just a stand for a phone, like a little holder. It wasn't a
Oh,
mic.
heck. You're good, man. Thank you. That was the wrong one. I
You
appreciate that.
know,
No, no,
it
no.
happens.
No, no,
Technology.
well, I need a process for that. Here we go. Here's the
Good
mic.
luck.
No, no, no. There you go. Okay, okay. Thank you for telling me. You're right. It was the clip. So I'll give you the tripod we recommend. So now you got all three.
Perfect. Thanks.
Can you screen share during the video shoot? Heck yeah, absolutely, Erica. So you could do a screen grab of like walking through a PowerPoint
Yep.
or walking through a software, and then they could narrate it. And guess what you get? The AI will strip it into the SOP also. Really
Okay.
fast and easy to make screen videos of like how you use your softwares and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Okay.
Fantastic. Okay.
Saves so many steps. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm glad that helps. Okay, so what else have I got for you? A couple other things. Um, we've been busy over here working on a handful of things, and I want to give you some good resources. So just as a send off, like what should I do? My recommendation, book a couple hours a week. If you can do that, you're going to get really far down this road. Number two, I always say this, pick your first playbook wisely. Pick the one that's going to get you a big ROI. Todd, Brandon, you probably found it. That one's got money all over it. But pick something everybody thinks could be improved because you get a lot of energy around the project and your visionary will be, supportive. And, it just gets this thing the juice it deserves instead of working on a skunk works. I always want the leadership team to bless the first three playbooks as the most vital. And so I've got some good tools for that. You've probably been introduced to them. The last one is map it, then film it. Cheat. Like, don't worry about writing the SOPs. You'll get lost in the weeds. Just film them explaining it, and it'll be so much faster. You'll get addicted to it. Um, Last thing we've been working on might help y'all. I'm going to share this with you. It's new. We've been talking about who is involved in process projects, and there's different kinds of people. There's folks who are really interested in how this is going to impact this team. There's folks who are just like, hey, I like the fire. I'm the launch person for these things. Somebody's really interested in details. Somebody's interested in the KPIs. Usually somebody who's really concerned about how things used to be done. And there's somebody who's like right up, like, I'm going to be the builder. And you can kind of feel who you are maybe, but we've got something new that I'm curious to have you guys take a look at. It's a profile, and you can do this yourselves. Actually, I'll throw this into the chat with everything else I'm doing. But it's a way to kind of feel as a team like who are we as pertains to process so that we can work together and have a little less friction and maybe understand our own impulses when it comes to tackling these projects. And so there we go. And Brandon, you tried to move a task list. Okay, I'm going to look at that with you. So we'll look at that together. If you're interested in knowing these, just take this quiz. It takes about 3 minutes to go through the questions, and you'll get a report at the end showing you who you are. If you're stuck with process, this is another thing I'm interested in you having a hand on. This is a playbook builder guide. It only took me 23 years to put this thing together, so I encourage you to use it. It's the whole workflow from which playbook should we start to how to map a process to how do you film an interview. And it's really small. It's not going to take you a long time to read it. It's one of these marketing BS things where it looks like it's a whole book. It's not. It's like 25 pages. It'll take you 15, 20 minutes to read it, but it took me half a century or quarter of a century to get it all collected because I just done a lot of this stuff. All right, my friends. So resources. So it's super important to me that you all know you have us. We have people to help you. We love helping you guys. It's really a pleasure. It's not an inconvenience. These aren't outsourced people in Pakistan or nothing against Pakistan. It's just these are homegrown folks who love the software and use it and are here in the United States and will dive right in and help you. And so just let me know if you'd like us to make an introduction to someone. You're probably getting emails soliciting you, but I know what that stuff looks like. It looks like junk mail, but it's really us, really asking, hey, you need a hand? And so if you want a hand, we'll jump right into working calls with you and run with you and help you out. And so you can tell I'm passionate about it. I want this to be something that's a win for you all. It's not just good business. It's like how I get to serve small companies all over the place. It's my pleasure to do it. So take us up on it. If you want me to follow up with you, throw your name in the chat, and I'll just have somebody on the team reach out and schedule time so you can have a little one-on-one with somebody here. Otherwise, we try to do these, every week, every other week. We'll do these webinars on different topics. Just join. I do record them, as I said in the beginning, and I'll fire them up through YouTube and send you all the links. If you missed it or if you want to share it or watch it later, you can.